been a couple of weeks since I spoke to you. Has there been any developments, anything different in Mexico compared to a couple of weeks ago?
Well, now everything is closed. However, people still go out for some reason.
Has there not been a formal lockdown enforced by the government?
Not a formal lockdown, just schools and restaurants, all type of entertainment. But it is not as other countries, as strict and powerful message to stay. And there's a concern because they're not doing the tests. So you don't really know how many people are infected.
So what have you been up to, Mauricio? I've seen you've been doing a fair bit of media work and podcasts and things like that, trying to keep yourself busy in this slow time for the sport.
Yeah, that's determination to continue to stay busy, to stay close to the boxing community, to the boxing fans, to the champions, and there's so many things that we can do. It's just a matter of understanding that you have to be active. Every morning I wake up as if I was going to go to the office. I dress up, work, I do my exercise, do my family things, and just see it as regular. When it comes to Friday, it's Friday, then weekend is like a weekend. So trying to keep a schedule.
Since the last time I spoke to you, I think it actually was announced the next day, the clean boxing program, along with the likes of UCAD and VADA, have suspended testing during the coronavirus lockdown. Just tell me a little bit about the reasoning for that. The general feeling among fighters, trainers, experts, both in the field of boxing and performance enhancing drugs, is that that's a significant concern to them with an abandoning of testing during this period. It gives a lot of potential cheats a window of opportunity. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely not. First, the principle of this program is transparency. And the top priority is security and safety. So how can you expect to put at risk the collectors in the street when the cities, the countries are in shutdown, in lockdown? How can you expect to put at risk the fighters and their families? When you're at home, have some stranger come from the street and draw blood or draw urine. Many labs are closed, activities closed, and I'm not going to be a liar. This program is all about transparency. So if this is interpreted as someone having a free pass to cheat, he will be caught. And it's on whoever cheats. It's not on the other side. We are going to start testing as soon as areas start to open up. We are doing a lot of work, office work on the clean boxing program, cleaning up files, contacting every fighter to update the whereabouts. So I see it as whoever wants to see the negative, that it's always going to be there. But to go out and plainly lie, I was asked by ESPN, like your shirt, about the program. I'm not going to lie. So whoever doesn't like it, it's up to them. But we stand by transparency and by what is right. There's so many other things to be worried about in the world right now. The sports come secondary. The doping comes secondary. There's many other things to worry about and to address at this moment.
I agree with that, but in a sense of there are going to be opportunists regardless of what's going on in the world. But do you understand and do you appreciate that some trainers and managers of clean fighters do see this as an opportunity for fighters to potentially do that? Obviously, making the announcement, while we understand the importance of transparency, the announcement has given people a notification that there's not going to be any testing, which surely would lead to an opportunity, whether or not people take it or not, to potentially flout doping regulations?
With or without. I mean, if you're going to cheat, you're going to cheat regardless. So this is not about... I stand very strong about this topic. As I say, whoever thinks it's a opportunity, it's okay. I don't care about that. I care about caring for the fighters and their welfare. I'm not going to put someone at risk, any fighter at risk, and his family.
Was there ever an opportunity, or was there ever a consideration of you not announcing it?
No, because I was asked. So when I'm asked, I say the truth. I don't lie. Then I was asked by another media, so I decided to go ahead and make it public so it's transparent and clear.
Okay. Okay, the reason why I'm calling you today, Mauricio, it seems like every time I speak to you, the 135-pound division is changing by the second, by the day. What update can you give me now? Because I saw Dan Raphael tweet last night from ESPN who said that early reports suggesting that Devin Haney had been reinstated as full WBC champion were a little bit far off the mark. So what can you tell me about the situation currently as it stands with the WBC lightweight title?
The exact status is that Devin Haney contacted the WBC formally, requesting to be reinstated as champion because he's now ready to go back into the ring. And certainly will be ready by the time boxing activity resumes. So we took that consideration. I spoke to the WBC Board of Governors. We requested from Haney a medical clearance just to make sure that he's already ready to go. And once we have that medical certificate clearance, we're going to address the situation. The WBC ordered Fortuna and Campbell to fight for that title until Haney was ready to be back. Now, obviously, with that fight, which was going to be April 17, there's no date. It's a postponement. Now Haney is ready to resume his career. We're going to address this matter with the Board of Governors and seek the alternatives and find a resolution, because Campbell and Fortuna do have rights, because that fight was ordered by the WBC and that fight was signed and contracted to take place. So we're going to address it. It was premature for Jack Donovan to announced that the WBC had reinstated him. The news are open. He petitioned for the reinstatement, and the WBC is looking after that petition with a few days to go until we have a definite ruling.
So as it stands currently, Luke Campbell, as it stands at the minute, Luke Campbell will be facing Javier Fortuna as it stands, as it was ordered by the WBC and is contractually agreed between them to fight for the WBC lightweight title as it stands right now.
Yes, but it's going to be addressed. I mean, it's we have to understand if the fight is cancelled or postponed because there is no activity, there's no date, there's not a firm date or site for the fight to take place. But we're going to address it. In a few days, we will have a resolution with the steps that are going to be taken by the WBC.
I mentioned it seems like it's been going on now for about a year that I've been speaking to you about specifically the lightweight division, right back to when Mikey Garcia was WBC champion and he moved up, which obviously left the division somewhat in limbo. The one constant, or one of the main constants around that sort of time, is Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell, of course, was in line to challenge Mikey Garcia, then was in line to fight for the vacant title, then ended up fighting Vasyl Lomachenko for the vacant WBC title, and has now been in with, well, is now ordered to be fighting Javier Fortuna, and it looks as though there is certainly potential for that not to happen. If you're Luke Campbell at this moment, or actually rather than that, what message do you have for Luke Campbell at the minute? Because he's somebody who has waited for a long time for his shot at the WBC title, for obviously Vasyl Lomachenko, which was a unusual move, not unprecedented, but unusual move to fight another champion for a vacant title, and now there's a potential, at least from what people see, of him not being able to face Javier Fortuna. What message do you have for Luke Campbell as somebody who's waited so long for his shot?
Well, he has not waited. he has not been waiting for his shot. He got his shot. I would say, look, just to be patient. This is something that is a fact. The world is stand still. He was the mandatory contender for Mikey Garcia. When Mikey Garcia left the division, vacated the title, we put Campbell to fight for the world title, and he fought for the world title. Without any fight, he was also then enrolled also to come back and be in the mix. So when Haney was put as champion in recess, we put Luke Campbell in to fight Fortuna. So we have been more than supportive and recognizing Campbell's value. He's a tremendous fighter, a pride of the WBC. And I would just say, just trust the WBC. Let's see how things shape up, and he will be fighting eventually when this matter comes into more clearance. He's part of the WBC plans in the lightweight division.
With Campbell and Fortuna they've already been in camp, they've already been preparing for that fight. Obviously, it's been suspended. We don't know postponement-wise when it's going to be rearranged. But would it make sense for Luke Campbell to box Javier Fortuna with the WBC placing a mandate that the winner must fight Devin Haney?
Yeah, that's one of the alternatives for sure.
Do you think that would probably make more sense? And given the fact that the WBC had ordered Fortuna versus Campbell, it would seem to me that would be the most logical step.
I firmly believe that it is fair that Campbell and Fortuna fight because that fight was ordered and that was contracted. We will come up with a ruling, as I mentioned before, which will take in consideration Luke Campbell because he has rights. It would not be fair just to scrap it, take away that fight, I don't think. But we will see what the Board of Governors comes up with a resolution.
And that fight, would that be still for the WBC full title? Obviously, that's what was agreed initially in the order and the contract for Fortuna Campbell. So would that still be the case?
We have to look into the specifics. If Haney, I don't want to go too much into deep because it's only you and I talking. I have to go through the WBC Board of Governors. So we have to consider Haney, Fortuna, Campbell, and everything that is surrounding. So please give me a few days and we'll come back with a definite resolution.
With the situation with the COVID-19 in America and the UK, obviously both countries have been severely affected by it, but it looks as though there is certainly potential for boxing to come back to the UK, arguably before the US. Would a fight involving Luke Campbell and Javier Fortuna in that instance come over here? If Devin Haney is unable to fight in the USA, would it be a case of Luke Campbell fighting Fortuna in the UK, and then when the situation resolves itself in the US, potentially looking at a fight there with Devin Haney?
Well, it's all assumptions, so it's not easy to just discuss assumptions. The UK might open first than the others, the countries. We don't know that. So let's wait and see. We're going to make a ruling detailing what are the WBC steps regarding and considering the rules and considering the rights of the three fighters.
In hindsight, with Devin Haney, correct me if I'm wrong, but he won the interim title he was elevated just before Christmas in November, December time, if I'm not mistaken.
He won the interim title against the Russian kid. As you mentioned, this goes back.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with it all in your head.
It's hard to keep up because Mikey Garcia was supposed to fight Luke Campbell and do his mandatory defense. That didn't happen. So the WBC ordered a series of fights, 2 final eliminations to meet for the world title. And some of these fights got scrapped off. At the end, we ordered Haney for an interim. We ordered Fortuna for another fight and then do that. and we ended up with having the Campbell fighting with Lomachenko for the championship, with Haney fighting
Abdullayev,
for Abdullayev. So it was such a lot of mixings and Fortuna, but now we have the situation is as it stands right now. We have Devin Haney with a petition, and we have Fortuna Campbell with a signed contract for a fight. That's what we are considering. We're going to address it and have come up with a resolution.
In hindsight, did you expect, the reason why I asked is for kind of timescale is did you expect Devin Haney to come back so soon from injury? Obviously, he was made champion in recess. Given the fact that he's come back after such a short time, in hindsight, is there a regret on the behalf of the WBC actually making him the champion in recess? Had you have known he would be back in 4 or 5 months, or fit to fight in 4 or 5 months?
No, he's not coming back. It is only understandable. We are in April now. So the fight was going to take place at this time, and this is when Haney could start to train. So it was. I have absolutely no regret. Campbell and Fortuna, as you say, they have the merits to be active in the division. And by the time Haney goes into the ring, it's going to be more than the 6-month period. So I think it was a correct decision.
Just final
one. I'm sure.
Nicely done. Final one on the lightweights and the kind of the Haney Campbell-Fortuna situation. If there were an instance where Devin Haney is reinstated as WBC champion and Fortuna and Campbell were to go ahead, 2 questions really. Would Campbell-Fortuna have any kind of additional status, whether it be diamond title, interim title, or would the WBC be willing to essentially enforce the winner of that fight and enforce Devin Haney to face the winner of that fight? Because not only Luke Campbell, of course, Javier Fortuna have both been under the illusion that they're fighting for the full WBC title. If that's not the case, would the WBC willing to put a mandate in that the winner of that fight must fight Devin Haney next?
Rob, you're making it. I'm fighting 12 rounds with you. I have to move around.
It's the last one. It's the last question on it.
This, for sure, I can assure Campbell and I can assure Fortuna that they have rights and they're going to be considered into the mix in the lightweight division. How it is going to shape up, it's going to be a matter of days before the WBC puts out the ruling with every single scenario.
Okay, we look forward to it. I appreciate you answering all of the questions I have on it. It's very confusing at the minute. Final question, Mauricio. I spoke to Eddie Hearn the other day. I know that you've done several interviews, similar sort of topics, but how do you expect the coronavirus lockdown to affect things like mandatory challenges and timescales that have been put in place for champions to make their mandatory defences? Obviously, the one that stands out and jumps out is Dillian Whyte for the WBC heavyweight title. All being well and boxing comes back, well, obviously sooner rather than later, can we still expect the WBC to honour that February 2021 date? And if not, would the WBC look at potentially extending that?
It's hard to give a straight answer. February is far away. So February 21 is Dillian Whyte's date for mandatory defense. We cannot foresee how things are going to shape. I am very optimistic that boxing is going to start activities soon. So I don't see any problem with Dillian Whyte. He was scheduled to defend his interim title against Povetkin in May the 2nd. I'm sure that will be rescheduled. And he's a mandatory contender. He's the interim champion. And the date for the heavyweight division is February 21st. Every single division, every single mandatory situation is going to be addressed separately. Because, as I think is going to happen, the areas is going to open in different times. So I'm going to give you an example. Nordin Ubali, the WBC bantamweight champion, he's in complete lockdown in France. So he had a schedule to fight his mandatory donaire. He cannot do camp. There are no sparrings available. So we don't know when France is going to be open up, differently from Donaire, who is in California. Every single fight, we have to look at the components and address it individually. But I guarantee that every single fighter will be given the best resolution with the best information or reality that is happening in his environment.
Should the WBC not be able to stick to the timescales involved with mandatory challenges or fights that have been ordered, are there any potential legal ramifications that you could face?
Well, I don't think so. We didn't create this situation.
Sure.
It's a worldwide stall of activity. For example, ratings. The ratings criteria have that a fighter who is not active in 1 year, in 12 months, he has to leave the ratings because that's the criteria. But how can you take somebody out if he has not had activity because of this situation? So we have to address the rules, but we have to look into the flexibility of what is happening, and we cannot make an injustice. So we're going to look at all the cases that have to do with ratings, all the cases have to do with mandatories, and try to make the best and the most just ruling.
Okay, I think that's probably all for today, Mauricio. Always a pleasure catching up with you, my friend. Before I let you go, what message do you have for people, not only obviously in your native Mexico or my native UK, but all around the world, boxing fans and just people in general who are still locked down and still in the midst of this terrible coronavirus pandemic?
Well, let's stay positive. It is not easy. You're going to have challenges every day. By your own mind challenge you. It is not easy to be locked down in your house with your loved ones. When you are with your friends for a long time, you start to get moody. It happens also with the family. Anxiety is a terrible feeling. So what I recommend, I've been studying, learning, and doing, is take control of your brain. You can do that. You can tell your brain what is going to go into your mind. If you read, if you look at the news, or if you call your friend that you know he's going to tell you these horrible stories and how the world is going to end tomorrow, and that creates anxiety in you, stop doing it. Stop watching news. Watch responsibly only the things that you need to watch, but feed your brain with different situations that bring you pleasure, that bring you joy, that bring you easiness. Listen to music, learn to do something. What I'm doing is, as I said, I wake up every day as if I was going to go to the office or take a trip. I exercise, I take my shower, have my breakfast, have my daily schedule of what I'm going to do, what I have to accomplish, who I'm going to call, all the things that I have to do, and I try to stay busy as much as possible. And that schedule has to be firm, not open. So you put your times when you're going to work, when you're going to do homework with your kids, what time is for lunch, what time is for exercise, and then you leave the time for your free watching movies, listening to music, whatever you find pleasure in doing. And that way you have a structure. When the Friday comes, then you're ready and you can have even your own party. Call people, be in touch, get active. You know, we always say we are too busy to do things. Now we have all the time to do so many pending things that we have on home, projects, writing, reading. There's so many things that we can be doing. Of course, it's easy to say when you have the anxiety of being afraid or having lost a dear person to this horrible pandemic, or anxiety for the economics. Don't let that get into your mind, because you will be, you have no solution. You can only do what you can resolve, do it. Whatever is outside, don't even think about it, because it will create a lot of anxiety.
Okay, Mauricio. Well, always a pleasure catching up with you, my friend. You be safe in Mexico, and I will speak to you soon.
Thank you, Rob. Take care, and let's stay safe and stay at home. Take care.
See you soon, Mauricio. Thank you, sir.
Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.